All right, and it is. It is that time, everyone. It is that time for another edition of Maryland's Cafe Society Radio right here on YouTube. How are you on this Saturday? It's the 6th day of March, 2021. Boy, just a year ago, the world was kind of going crazy, at least here in the United States, right? With the pandemic, the realization of the pandemic hitting the masses. And I think it was right around this time that I realized that, supplies in the grocery stores and other places were just disappearing. I guess I was so busy at work, I didn't realize the impact that this pandemic was having on us. And so here we are a whole year later. I hope you're doing well. Are you having a good week? I tell you, where we are and other regions who normally experience winter are, of course, getting a taste of spring. These last few days, we've been in this area in the 40s and the 50s, and my goodness, I'm hearing by Sunday we might even see 60s. So, spring fever is what I'm feeling. All right, everybody. Well, today we're going to switch up format a bit again. However, I will touch on some cafe news, but we're going to get into cafe talk right after that. And of course, we'll be discussing Illinois House Bill 3653. That's the Criminal Justice Omnibus Bill that was signed into law just last month. And my special guest will help break down this new Public Aid Act and its impact on the formerly incarcerated and particularly women. All right, so real quick, let's look at some of the news that we're normally used to getting on the show, and that's, of course, the coronavirus update. According to Johns Hopkins University, there's now more than 115 million COVID 19 cases globally and more than 2.5 million deaths. Now, the United States is still leading and has hit just under 29 million confirmed cases and more than 520,000 deaths. In related news, the United States Labor Department just released its new report for last week. They're reporting that 1.2 million new unemployment claims were filed last week. Now, that number takes us back up. It's been a few weeks since we've talked about it, but we had gotten under that million mark the last report that we did back in February. So now we're back over a million. That's kind of alarming, but we'll see how things continue to develop. Stimulus talks, well, the Senate negotiations are going on right now. And Thursday, I believe, President Biden agreed to lower the income caps for that $1,400 direct payment to Americans that was included in this new stimulus package. Now, the cap is now saying that one person earning more than $80,000 will not be able to receive that $1,400 check. Of course, the Senate Democrats are expected to push this nearly $2 trillion emergency relief package through the Senate despite Republican opposition. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll certainly be watching it to see what happens. And other news, the House of Representatives passed that For the People Act, which is a landmark bill on voting rights, elections, campaign finance, and ethics reform. They beat it by 220 to 210 just on Wednesday. Now, if enacted into law, the For the People Act would nullify this latest GOP wave of voter restrictions and suppression at the state level. And of course, beyond its voting rights section, the For the People Act contains sweeping changes to the nation's campaign finance laws, bans on partisan gerrymandering, and the new ethics requirements for the executive branch and federal judiciary. Now, the bill now heads to the Senate, where it is likely to be filibustered by Republicans who oppose its voting rights campaign finance and ethics reforms. My goodness. Now, another big bill that passed the House was the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Um, this legislation bans police from using chokeholds and no-knock warrants. It requires data collection on police encounters and ends qualified immunity, which is a legal doctrine used to shield police from accountability. It now has to pass the Senate, and meanwhile, some police reform advocacy groups are not on board with the act. In fact, a spokesperson for the Drug Policy Alliance said that they don't believe the bill offers up real reform and accountability. And they don't believe that it fully addresses issues such as police um, militarization and other tactics disproportionately used against Blacks and other people of color. So this good news, I don't know how we should feel about it. I mean, it's been kind of sitting since last June after that George Floyd incident, and of course he lost his life. And they finally pushed it through. So is it a celebration or not? I honestly don't know um, how to feel about it, particularly reading what some of the advocates of police reform are saying. And so again, that brings us to our cafe talk portion of the show. And I want to go ahead and bring on my guest for the show. And let's see if they are with us. All right, Celia, I see you.
Hi. Good morning.
Hi, there you
Oh,
are.
afternoon.
All right.
Yep.
And I'm trying to see if we have the other ladies with us. Uh, let's see here. Okay, they haven't quite joined us yet. So why don't I go ahead, Celia, and get everyone
Let me
introduced.
send them a message.
Pardon me?
Okay. I said I'm going to send them a quick message real quick.
Oh, okay. Thanks. All right.
Text message real quick.
Okay. So as Celia reaches out to the other ladies, we're gonna let me just tell you what this Cafe Talk segment of the show is about. It focuses on the Illinois House Bill 3653, which is that Criminal Justice Omnibus Bill that was signed into law on February 22nd, 2021 by Governor J.B. Pritzker. And of course, not everyone is happy about this bill as well. And so the ladies joining me on the call today will be helping us kind of break things down. Let's see, we got Nicole connected.
Yeah, there she goes.
Uh-huh. And then we'll wait for one more. And then I'll properly introduce you to the audience. And then we'll get into our talk.
All right.
All right. All right,
Hello.
there she is. Hi, hon.
Good afternoon.
Good
Good
to
afternoon,
see
Miss
you.
Nicole.
How you doing?
Good to
A little
see
bit better today.
I want you to continue to take it easy, sister, please.
I am.
Take it easy.
I ain't doing nothing else this weekend. I'm
Okay.
laying it down.
Makes me
Very
feel good to hear.
Yeah.
So how you doing, Marilyn?
I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy that we were able to pull this together today, you know, so everybody can kind of relax this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean,
Oh, my chest hurts when I laugh.
I'm telling my sister to take it easy. And here I am. No, I can't rest.
I know.
I got to get out of here as soon as it's over with. I got to get out of here. I got a meeting at 3:00 in Chicago, and I got to
Okay.
get out. Got to get over there.
All right. Well, listen, I am going to be so excited to share who you all really are to the audience. In fact, why don't I go ahead and start introducing you two, and then by then, maybe Colette would have joined us. So let me just
Yes.
first introduce Celia to you all. Celia Colon is an Emmy Award nominee, author, educator, inspirational speaker, who is a progressive national social justice matters expert. She uses her unique life experiences to advocate and support legislative policies that advance smart criminal justice reform. Now, Celia is CEO, founder of Giving Others Dreams. The acronym is G.O.D. That's right, God. And
Yes.
that is a nonprofit organization that provides direct reentry services and holistic support for justice impacted women. Now, through their many community partners, they connect them directly to reentry services that include free mental health care and substance abuse counseling. Celia is a speaker and educator who frequently speaks at conferences, elementary schools, universities, churches, jails, treatment centers, prisons, before legislators, on legislative committees. She has appeared on television, radio, and podcast shows, and now on Cafe Society.
Yes.
She is also the 2020 Urban Scholar Fellow for the University of Chicago, Illinois, Jane Addams College of Social Work. She's a community task force member for the City of Chicago, CPD, Youth of Force Working Group. She's a Fierce Over 40 ambassador. She's a returning citizen advisory board member for State's Attorney Kim Foxx. She's the Chicago ambassador for Cut 50. Celia has received numerous awards also, and here's just a few, just a few. She's a Valiant Women Award she received the Valiant Women Award from the Juvenile Justice and Child Protection's Women's History Month Committee. She received a Community Impact Award from Inspired to Speak, Business Accelerator. She also received the Outstanding Work in Chicago Award from the I Will Ministry. Celia Colon is a passionate community leader, a mentor, a mother, a grandmother, and organizer. She is reimagining what reentry with support looks like for women. So welcome, Celia, to the show.
Thank
Did we
you.
get
Thank you. Thank you.
Colette yet? All right. So while we're still
No,
waiting,
let me.
while we're still waiting for Colette to join us, we're gonna let me please introduce you to our another phenomenal lady who's joining us on the call, and that is, of course, Nicole Davis. Now, Nicole, first and foremost, is a proud Chicagoan raised on the west side of Chicago. She's the mother of two beautiful young ladies and two grandchildren. Professionally, she's founder and CEO of Talk to Me Foundation, which serves children whose parents are incarcerated. Nicole is passionate about ending harm done to them. And so just last year, she founded the Sisters of Support Transitional Home for formerly incarcerated women and girls in Gary, Indiana. As someone who has directly been impacted by the criminal justice system, serving 13 and a half years in federal prison, Nicole knows firsthand how unfair the justice system is for women and men. This birthed her work as a community organizer dedicated to helping secure equality, basic human rights, and second chances for justice impacted people. She is a staunch supporter of initiatives and legislative policies that advance and transform the criminal justice system. Nicole is also a sought out national speaker who advocates for dignity, decriminalization, and decarceration of women and girls. So we welcome you, Nicole Davis, to the show.
Thank you.
And we still have to get Colette on the call. And it doesn't look like she's gotten through yet. Did you reach her, Celia?
I sent her a text. She hasn't responded, so I don't know if she's tied up in something. She's
Okay.
working full time as well. So
Right.
she's going to
Okay,
do this on her lunch break. She'll answer us. She'll jump on if she's available.
No problem. Let's go ahead and get started. Of course, We're going to break down this new Public Act 101 0652, also named the Safety, Accountability, Fairness, and Equity Today Act. The acronym is SAFE-T. Ladies, what do you think? This is a good day in Illinois, right? Really across the country. I just shared before you guys jumped on board that George Floyd Police Reform Act was passed in the House as well. So some of the advocates, however, are not happy with everything. You know, they feel like, you know, much was left out. But what do you think? Should we be celebrating, or should we have pushed waited for more?
I think that we should always celebrate even the small victories.
Mhm.
Any step, even if it's a small step in the right direction towards equity and true just and fairness, is a step forward. So, you know, with doing this work and advocacy and organizing, just like the Omnibus Bill that just passed, some of, you know, it's a 760-page piece of literature. I haven't read it all, but I'm familiar with some of the stuff because I have been one of the, you know, people that have been advocating for some of the things that got passed in this bill. Sometimes, you know, doing this work, you don't have the right language. They want to turn you down. So therefore, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times for you to submit a bill and actually get it to get passed.
Yes.
So a lot of people don't know that there's sweat, tears, anger, because, you know, we're always trying. Colette has joined us. Hey, dear. We're always trying to move our people forward and, you know, move the system and correct the system. Basically, I wish we could take the whole system apart and rewrite the whole thing. Because at the end of the day, if people really want to get serious about police reform and stopping the violence, they would get to the root cause of things, and they don't, right? There's always a band-aid. People always want to talk about the criminal and what the criminal did, but let's talk deeper than that and what created that criminal. You know, our environments either make us or break us. And in the Black and Brown community, and I'll use my community. I live in the South Chicago community, Southeast side. I'm very proud of my community, but there has been little to much change in the last 30 years. I've been home 20 years from prison, and my people are still hurting. There's still food deserts, you know? So who creates these spaces? Because if you look at my community, I'm just using my community as an example. You go down Commercial Avenue from 87th all the way down to 93rd and Commercial. All them stores close at 6 or 7 o'clock. The gates come down, the locks come on, but not the liquor stores on every corner, not the pawn shop.
Yep.
Before COVID, the plasma shop was still open till 9 o'clock. So let me take your blood, go, you know, pawn some stuff off. Like, what are you saying to my community? To me, that's structural violence. That's the violence that's in plain sight that nobody likes to talk about, right? So I believe that really, really, you know, changing the system is, yes, passing these bills that we can put into law, because like Martin Luther King said, you know, we can't change someone's heart, but laws can restrain the heartless, right? So it's about the implementation of these laws. That's where we're missing a lot of stuff, because we could write stuff all day long that looks beautiful and that gets passed, but it's the implementation that's missing in the city of Chicago, and it's been missing for years. I'm gonna let you introduce our queen, our sister that just joined us, before we continue.
Honey, you really hit on some key things there, and it's all systemic. It's all historical, his systemic biases, racism, prejudices, and yeah, we'll talk about it. But let's back up a minute, because she has joined the call and the panel. So I want to properly introduce you all to Colette Payne, who is director of the Reclamation Project at the Women's Justice Institute. Colette is a fierce advocate who believes in using her experience as a formerly incarcerated woman to change the negative and harmful narratives surrounding incarceration of women by not only changing policies and laws, but as Celia was just sharing with us, she's also aiming to change hearts and minds. She formerly served as the Visible Voices Coordinator at the Chicago Legal Advocacy for Incarcerated Mothers, as well as the Community Organizer and Policy Associate at Cabrini Green Legal Aid. Colette has won numerous awards, including the Chicago Foundation for Women Impact Award, the CAR Visionary Award, a Power of One Award nominee, and a fellow for both the McCormick Foundation and Just Leadership USA. In addition, Colette has served as the co-chair of the Women's Justice Institute statewide task force, leading over 500 women and seeking ways to reduce incarceration of women in Illinois by at least 50%, to improve outcomes and reduce harm for justice-involved women, their families, and their communities. She is a dedicated change maker, a student, a mother, and a grandmother. So Colette, welcome. And again, officially, I welcome all of you esteemed women to the panel today. And Celia was just kind of giving us some insight on looking beyond changing laws, but trying to, as we were just saying, you know, obviously, if we change those laws and policies and legislation, people have to adhere to it. But hopefully, at some point, we can impact and change hearts and minds about how these people in positions of power view people in the brown and black communities. Um, Colette, what do you have to say about that?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's yeah, I come from the community. I would say, I grew up in the hood. I grew up in the projects, and I remember how as a young child our community was policed. We had a police station right there in the Ida B. Wells housing project, and we were looked at as being less than. Um, you know, the services, I can say this, when the war on drugs started, like my grandma, she stayed in the community. She moved down from the South, bought her children, left one in the South. Like that's how they did it. They may have left one child or two child so they can start a place to call home for themselves. And it was a beautiful place with monkey bars and everything in the backyard. I remember the clotheslines and the fresh smelling linen. It was just, I loved the projects. Like
I heard
that was my home.
Monkey ball.
Yeah, you smell the clothes, I just love the smell of fresh linen. And the garden, every year my grandma would win for the best garden of the year. In those communities they had a newspaper, a community newspaper where they would talk about folks in the community. They had town halls where they would take pride in the place in which they live. So when the war on drugs started, and I'm young and I'm like, okay, what's going on? You start seeing the monkey bars coming out the back and the clotheslines being removed. And that is so the police can swoop in and, do whatever they need to do. But my thing is one, drugs didn't get here on their own. That, they people don't become or seek to become drug dealers or use substances when they're young. They have hopes and dreams. We have hopes and dreams just like everyone else, and that is to be productive members of society. But when communities and people aren't invested in, what happens?
Yeah,
I saw the community go down and not being taken care of, like dilapidated buildings, like all of this. So like how are we investing in our communities? How are we investing in our children? How are we pouring into them? How are we breaking the chains of the generational harm that has been passed down for decades?
Mm-hmm. And that's gonna take work. That Virginia Slim commercial comes to mind. We've come a long way, baby, but we still got a long way to go. And it's women like you who are on the front lines doing the work. Here on my show, I just try to let people know what's going on and who are the people behind the scenes making these things happen. You know, you hear it in the news. Oh, this new bill was passed. Police reform bill was passed. Yay, the governor signed it. But there were people on the ground, or in you all's cases, on the ground and sitting in your offices because you are women leaders, making it happen, and having even experienced Black life, brown life, you know, people coming from their other countries into these communities that are neglected communities and remain neglected communities. Our story as Black people migrating from the South with our parents and grandparents seeking out that better life, landing, or I should say, being redlined into these neglected neighborhoods and communities that no one cares about. And fast forward 50, 60, 70 years later, no one still really cares about, you know. So it's a change. Collectively, it has to be that change of policy, legislation, but also mindsets, hearts.
I agree. I agree. And I just want to just echo off of Cece. It's never a day that we join together on a Zoom that she don't cover everything. It's like, hey, just leave a little bit, leave a little bit. I want that part. I want that part. But she cover everything. As soon as Colette, I'd be like, wow, there go my queen doing it again.
Mhm.
It's such an honor to be amongst these fierce women. When I
Yeah.
tell you that these women are doing the work from the heart, boots on the ground, and they mean what they say and they say what they mean. If we're going to rally and we're going to protest, we're going to go together and we're going to stand hand to hand, and we're not going to stop until we get the job done. And that's always in my mind that Sam Cooke, a change is going to come. We just got to
Mm.
be consistent, and we got to continue to fight for what we believe in. And who is better to tell these stories and fight and advocate for what we feel is right is us, women who look like us. You know,
Yes.
and we are doing the work. And like, hey, I'm from the West Side. I'm deep in the hood, you know, where all the pimps, the whole, the gangster drug dealers, where it all started right there. I'm right there. I was a little girl, just watching my grandmother, just like Colette. My grandmother migrated from Canton, Mississippi to Chicago with 5 kids, trying to make a life for herself, you
I'm
know. And
Antonian.
what? See that? Small world.
Oh, we gotta catch up. We gotta catch up.
Yeah. So yeah, we was down there with the Kent spiritual. You know, my mom grew up with, in the
Yes.
Jackson Southern areas, so I seen the struggle. And it was just a generational curse from it trickled down from my grandmother to my mother into me that led me to doing some of the things that I did. But like we said, if it trickled and the trauma starts at home, and so we have to break the generational curse, and we want to see a change, and we're going to make a change because we're going to continue to try to get these bills passed, and it's not going to happen overnight. And it's such a blessing that our governor finally signed into legislative that he changed his bill where it's no cash bail. Wow, yeah, I'm like Cece, yes. Any little small amount is worth congratulating and celebrating on because
That's
it's
amazing, ladies, because I remember in the 90s, shortly after the what was it, the war on drugs, all those laws were instituted in the 90s. And I remember our leaders, our Black leaders saying, this, something's not right about this. We got to fight it. And families of those who have been impacted by those who suffered the consequences of that war on drugs. And to me, it was more than just a war on drugs. It seemed like it was a war on our Black men, our brothers, our cousins, our husbands, our uncles, it was a horrible time. And then you throw in the devastation of what the drugs were doing to our people. It was just a horrible time. And I just remember following that fight. I remember, our family writing letters and talking to people and you know, trying to do something because, in your spirit, when something is not right. And it seemed like these laws were passed with hateful intent. You know what I mean? And so, as you said, Nicole, to finally get the governor, this governor, J.B. Pritzker, whom I also
Yes.
met on the campaign trail, and was like, hey, you got to do something about these laws to finally get something done. Do you think that they
Yes.
covered everything though? Did they leave anything
I
out?
mean,
I know it's
you,
a big bill and it's hard to sift through, but do you think they covered everything?
So, I
you
mean,
know what?
go ahead, Coco.
I haven't really like dived deep into this here, but I think it just from the little parts that I did read, taking parts from here, taking parts of that, there's a little couple of more things that we can add into it. But what they did so far is a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. And we just got some more work to do. We got more work to do. And we're going to continue to work. And so we can get everything into these bills passed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, one bill in particular, and I have so many papers
Yeah.
around my house. Like, one bill in particular that was left out is HB 3447. And it is reducing. Hold on for a minute, y'all. This is important. Sorry.
Okay.
So
Okay.
But
What I was going to say, what
Hold
I
on for
like
one
about
second. I'm on the
some
call.
of the things in the bill is actually forcing and holding police officers accountable by putting body cameras on everybody. That's going to change the game. It's going to be implemented in phases. So I think in like January 2022, there should be over 500, like 500,000 or more equipped with body cameras. And then by 2023, they want to get to, the 100,000. So by 2025, they're stating that all police departments, including the state police, will be wearing these body cameras, which I believe can change the game, because a lot of the murders that have happened, if it wasn't for video, they would be swept under the rug, you know? So I think that for safety for Black and brown people and disabled people, people that are Latino that cannot speak to the police, because, not being able to communicate with the police, it could lead to catastrophic harm, And I think that having a camera on them 24/7 all day, and they can actually capture the interactions with people, which will capture their attitude, their aggression, and how their biases are, I think changes the game for a lot of people. You ready, Colette?
Yeah, I'm
To
just
Colette.
thinking about, you said that word safety, like what does safety look like in our communities? They always talk about creating safety, but safety is when we're having what we need, and those body cams are what we need. And they should have been wearing them, should have had them on 24/7. It's just like, if they catch you recording, say like, when I see something happen in my neighborhood and I feel I stand there and I want to be like, put that phone down, like they get angry. I can imagine just a lot of, I'm not going to say all officers are bad, but you do have some out there who are not so great. Yeah, and it's important that their attitudes and what they're doing is captured. But I was going to say that a bill that I'm working on now with ACLU didn't get included in the package. They got pushed back, and this was reducing barriers to recovery. Looking at the war on drugs and the amount of drugs that people can have small amounts of cocaine, like marijuana is legal now. Cocaine, opioids and stuff like that, and they're getting a lot of time for this.
Yeah.
So we're working on that bill right now, and this is important. So that is in legislation, and the bill number is, hold on, HB 3447, reducing barriers to recovery. And Representative Ammons and Slaughter are carrying this bill. Yeah, and we got a lot of support behind it. Like,
So
anything criminal justice reform, I care about it, and I try to put my hands in it some kind of way if I can, but I know I can't be everywhere.
So let me just say this with this bill. You said the bill is HB 3447?
Yep, HB 3447. And I'm looking for the A. So what it does is HB 3447 will establish a new quantity threshold threshold before which the penalty of possession of a controlled substance would be reduced to a Class A misdemeanor. Heroin, 3 grams would be reduced. Fentanyl, methamphetamine, 3 grams. Cocaine, 5 grams. Morphine, pentoxine, ecstasy, oxycodone, LSD, PCP, and another name that I can't
So let me ask you,
pronounce.
so with this bill, do you think that this bill can, ghost drug can be implemented into this bill? Because, you know, people get a lot of time just for ghost drugs that's not even seen, just talked about.
I don't know. So the bill is already, I would say this, the bill has already been written and it's in, you know, right now, they're going to bring it to the floor. They're going to start having hearings about it. So I don't think they're going to do any
implementation
adding to the bill. What they would do, I mean, you can possibly see some carve outs where you would have pushback from representatives that be like, oh my God, fentanyl, you know. You know, my thing is people wouldn't sell drugs if they had everything they needed, if they had access to jobs, if they had access to education, if they had access to housing. Folks are just trying to survive. You know, I'm not condoning anything, but I did all these things and I was trying to survive and feed my family. And that's what it boils down to until I was able to get the support and help I need to be where I'm at right now. That's because somebody poured into me and saw my potential, because I didn't see my potential. I thought that was where I was gonna stay and stay stuck. Thought I was gonna use heroin and smoke crack forever because that's what I did. But I also gave to my family, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. What you're saying reminds me of that. Oh, who did I hear say that? Stop asking about what's wrong with a person and take time to find out what happened to a person. You know,
Mhm.
so someone sent me something on social media, a story about a principal at a school. A little boy was acting up in class, refused to take his hat off, his baseball cap off his head.
Yeah,
And,
I
you
see.
know, obviously the teacher wrote him up, sent him to the principal's office. And, um, you know, normally the kid would be suspended or do an in school suspension, be punished for not obeying. But the principal took time to talk to the little boy to find out why he did not want to take his cap off his head, and discovered that the little boy was
Yeah,
embarrassed because he hadn't had a haircut.
yeah.
And so he took the time, bought some clippers, and cut the little boy's hair for him and sent them back to class.
Yeah.
And we
I
know
share.
that pipeline, right? We know that pipeline from school to prison
Yeah.
is
It's real. It's real.
is
It lives in
real.
our it lives in our communities. And I shared that story. I thought it was very heartwarming. And that's the thing that people need to do. Exactly what you said. Stop asking why and find out what's wrong with them. It reminds
Mhm.
me of you know, this young man who he was a witness to his best friend getting killed in front of him, and he got shot and he survived. He ended up going to the county jail. This is when I was working for the bail project where we would bond people out. And he was only 18 years old. He always stayed in the house playing video games. He was not allowed to leave outside because he, you know, had a single mom who worked 2 jobs. But his friend came over and they were going to walk to the corner store to go get some chips and stuff because they're playing video games. Well, his friend that he's not supposed to really hang around because he was a known gang member ends up getting shot and killed in the corner at the candy store. Let me show you how dirty the police are. This young man, his best friend falls on him. The young man gets shot too in the stomach, right? So this is happening. The police come. The young man that had a gun on him is the one that's dead. The police take that gun and put it on the young boy that's alive. Charge him with the gun case. Takes him to the hospital. He's in the hospital, and then he ends up being in the county jail. I helped bond this young man out. Sent him back to his mother because he was only a couple months away from graduating from school. He was already attending some kind of a welding program outside of the school. You know, he was already on his success path. He just had friends that had other lives. And, you know, sometimes when you live that kind of life, that's kind of sometimes what will happen, right? And it's so sad that the police were just looking to pin something on somebody. And since they couldn't take this young Black boy's life because he was gone, let's take this Black boy's life because we need to take, give it to someone. And that just shows you, like, sometimes why these body cameras are so important to me, because it's stories like him that don't get told. And then when the little boy went to the county, he went straight to solitary confinement because he was terrified of being in the general public. Being in solitary confinement does something to you when you don't have human interaction and you don't have a TV and you don't have books. You're left alone with just your thoughts. And if you just seen your best friend get killed and you're not getting any kind of therapy, what does that do to you mentally, emotionally, physically? Think about those things. It's a child, and that's what happens. People get lost in the system, and sometimes no one asks how it happened and why it happened. So I'm glad that you're asking these questions and that you're thinking this way. Hopefully that'll open the eyes, hearts, and ears of our listeners.
Yes, yes, and we talked about the pipeline from school to prison, and what just incensed me over the last few years is how for years brown and Black boys and men were sent to prison for marijuana possession or even selling marijuana, and now it's all legal. You know what I mean? So do you all think that that some reparations need to be given to those boys and men who lost so many years of their life?
Absolutely, yeah.
Um, you know what I'm saying? It's just so disrespectful that when one group is doing it, it's criminal, you know. But when now that everything is in the hands of another group, it's all legal, it's all good, no problem. In the meantime, all these lives were destroyed.
Yeah, I guess their form of reparations is expunging their records, and that's it. Like, it's supposed to be okay. The damage is done. And what I always say when it comes to that, you don't find people who just have a record for weed. It's other cases that are attached to that person. Yeah, I don't think should be retroactive. Like, if they do have a case, and like I said, it's supposed to be automatically expunged. But what about their lives that has already been damaged and they can't get a job because of that permanent punishment
Yeah.
that is associated with the crime?
Yeah.
Once a person has an
was a
arrest,
crime then, but it's no longer a crime now,
right? So the harm is done.
It's done.
And once a person gets a simple arrest or conviction, can prevent you from getting housing and getting a job.
And
But they
public
tell us,
aid and going volunteering at school, getting an apartment, like all of these things trickle down to our next generation. And that's what we're trying, all three of us and a lot of other people are on the ground. We're out here trying to break these generational curses that have been bestowed upon our children without even asking.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know if he's even, it goes back so far. For the first time, I was sent a text to just please take some time on my schedule to watch the United States versus Billie Holiday.
Oh, let me write that down.
That goes back, y'all. When we talk about reparation and we talk about the war on drug, J. Edgar Hoover, he did this long time ago. They tried to lock Billie Holiday up because all she wanted to do was sing Strange Fruit. She was telling the story of how y'all was doing our Black people. Y'all got to watch that movie. It just brought some more anger in me to just continue to fight. Continue to fight. And they planted drugs on that woman, y'all, and that woman was dead with a tag on her toe, and they still charge a dead woman. How can you do that? That's how bad they wanted to see Billie Holiday locked up. Y'all the one brought the drugs over here. Billie Holiday didn't go get the drugs. Y'all the one brought them over here to our country. And that was way back in the 1914. So this been going on long before we was even thought about.
Yep. I always say we don't own cargo planes, we don't own boats. The stuff don't come over from other countries out the air, so we're the ones, the bottom of the barrel, that get the blame for it. But the people that are actually poisoning our communities, they're living, free to do so.
Yeah.
Have you all discussed gerrymandering yet?
No, but let me just bring this topic up on this Safety Act that has now been written into law. I read that victims advocates and other community stakeholders, and of course, as we know, some law enforcement and even state representatives and government officials are not happy with this. They have concerns that victims' protections have now been taken away in some respects. And so, what do you think? Do you think that they are right in how they're feeling, that maybe some aspects of this new reform bill is not serving the victims of crimes and their families?
So I would say this, of course, the media and whoever doesn't like this bill will place fear into the community. But what this bill does is, especially with the Pretrial Fairness Act, is it doesn't, you have to go before a judge. A judge has the chance to look at your record, like always. They've always looked at our records and see if they feel we're fit or able to go out into the community with the bail, or without a bail. So say, for example, if I am an abusive person and this is in my history, most likely they're going to give you a high bond if you get this, a ransom. They give you ransom for small things anyway. Judges are going to take a look at who these people are coming in front of them. They're going to have the opportunity to find out more about them. Like, first-time offenders shouldn't sit in jail for a $100 bond. Now, when you got folks that are doing some serious crimes where it's causing harm to people, in my heart, I don't believe that those are going to be the folks who are going to be let free with no bond. It's not going to happen like that.
Yeah, totally agree. It's totally the judge's discretion, and there's going to be a new assessment. The assessment that they've used before was an assessment that had a lot of biases in it. So they're creating a new assessment of safety, right? Safety for the community and safety for that person. So every person that goes to jail, regardless if it's a petty crime or a violent crime, they will be assessed on their past history, their local present, crime, and the judge will ultimately be the one to decide if this person gets to be let out with their signature or require a bond. Just like Colette said, there's been people that have sat in jail for a ticket for 3 to 6 months and lose their whole life.
Yes.
So that's the kind of people we're trying to reunite with their families, get them back into their jobs, passing a red light or having a suspended license or ticket, a registered ticket, a license that's expired, something like that. Somebody shouldn't go to jail and lose their life for that. Or crimes of poverty, people that are hungry, that go inside the stores just stealing food to eat. They shouldn't be sitting in jail either. That's something that's the bigger picture, right? Of why that even exists, why that person that lives in the United States of America is even hungry. That shouldn't exist, but it does.
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah, so it sounds like some of this legislation, because of the work of you ladies and others like you, did a deeper dive into the whys some of the crimes that happen. Starting with there's a lot to the bill, but obviously police reforms is one of them. We just talked about earlier the body cameras. Pre-trial reforms is another big highlight. We kind of mentioned that too. prison and sentencing reforms. And I know that Colette wanted to touch on the prison gerrymandering.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I had to be doing this work to find out about that, like how funds are funneled to those towns, those prison towns. So I live in Chicago, but because I'm housed there, held captive, held prisoner, that's where the money goes, because in the census they count me as living there. That's not my home. That is not my home. This is a brief shelter along the way. And please, if a person has a life, if they don't have a life sentence, they shouldn't be counted there. That's why our communities are not invested in now, because they don't feel we're deserving. Like, my thing is, who came up with that law where folks who come from Chicago or whatever town, if they're in prison, they're counted as being a part of that prison town? It just doesn't make sense. And I'm so glad that this was passed. Maybe I just want to see, like, where is this investment going to go now? How is money going to be distributed now that we're in our communities? Just when me riding the train or taking the bus I stay in South Shore, from my side of town to the north side of town, and looking at how much more resources and how beautified their communities are versus ours. How many vacant lots we have, how many empty houses. We shouldn't even have that. It shouldn't even be a state of homelessness in Chicago. That shouldn't even be. It's just sad. It's really sad. And I know we haven't got to where we want to be, but I know we keep fighting, we're going to get there. And I appreciate you all, Coco, CC, look, CC, Coco, like, I appreciate you all, like, just for being, in this fight, in this movement, and we're all doing something together. We may not work on the same things, but it's still the same issue, because all of it ties into mass incarceration. It's just like a tree with many branches, but we haven't yet got to the root of that tree yet.
It's coming.
Man, I appreciate you guys with all of my heart and soul. You guys know you're my sisters. I love y'all, and I'm down to support you in everything that you guys do. Everything that we do in our own space, it all intersects. Just like Coco says, there's so many layers of harm when it comes to being incarcerated, being justice impacted, and that's why it requires so many levels of care and support, and just programming to unprogram the harm that took place. And that's what, because of our unique experiences going through the system ourselves as young girls, we know that these things can be prevented. So we're out here doing our best to just unapologetically show up for one another and people that are suffering just like us, because who else to learn from than someone who's already been there, done that, that looks like you, that comes from a community like you, and knows how to pivot these systems, because 70% of the people that are in prison are usually return offenders due to some technicality or some kind of, excuse that the parole people want to use to lock you back up. So we teach people, hey, your parole officer, he is not the CEO. There's somebody else over him. Document your conversation, find a supervisor. You shouldn't have somebody threaten your freedom. So there's a lot of things that sometimes people, when they're dealing with unhealed trauma, don't have the confidence to fight for themselves. They just accept what has been given. And what all three of us try to do is help people find their own healing, right? Just be that person that takes them to their own healing, because healing is an inside job. But let me tell you, when you feel pain, you're the only one that feels that pain. And pain will change you. Pain will change your, just everything about you, how you wake up every day and what you do every day. I unfortunately have my little sister was killed 3 months ago, shot in the head, driving home. That has changed my trajectory. That has changed and pivot what I do as far as seeking justice for her, because having justice for her and her kids that she leaves behind is a form of healing for me. Do I hate the person that killed her? No. And it's hard to say, you know, some people look at me like I'm crazy, but I know that the person that harmed my sister is somebody that's hurting himself or herself. It's someone that, you know, for who knows why, picked up a gun and decided to take somebody else's life and destroy my family. I just want to make sure that that young man or young woman doesn't destroy somebody else's family.
Amen.
That's it. That's it for me. And I hope that whatever that person did, they realize that their family will not be destroyed, because when you go to prison, your life is over. You know, the life that you know, the safety that you feel living in your house is gone. You become a changed person. It's survive, you know, or be killed sometimes in the men's prisons. It's different than the women's prisons. They're more violent. And these are the things that, you know, I think about the harm, like that he had or she had to be living in a very harmful environment, because I really don't believe that God made any of us were born with the ability to want to kill one another. I think that is environmental, and it is taught, and it's from harm, and it's from abuse, and it gets to a certain point where they're so hurt that they don't care if they hurt somebody else, or they just want to die themselves. I truly don't believe God made us that way, that God made us with evil spirits. So you know, pain changes people, and that's what pain has done for all of us. We know we don't want our sisters that end up in the system to go through anything like we did. So if we can help pivot that and stop that generational harm so that their children don't end up in prison, we're here. We're here.
I totally agree, you know, and I feel your pain, and I'm always praying for you. And I lost my grandson, you know, that's the reason, was one of the reasons why I left Chicago and came to Indiana, because it was causing me to think, um, taking it back to my old school, an eye for an eye, but like you said, the person who killed my grandson, he's dealing with some painful issues himself. He's dealing with a lot of trauma, and if we can get to the root of it, we can try to help prevent some of the violence that's going on in Chicago. And I know firsthand, because I sit in the caps and I listen to the stories of the young men that come and don't want to be known, about some of the shootings. And a lot of them is just offer these pills, they offer these pills, and this stuff is destroying our community, and they're so young. Anytime a 12-year-old girl pull up to the gas station and pull a gun out on a 65-year-old man, come on, y'all, where is the world coming to? You're 12 years old. Where's your parent?
Real quick, I don't mean to interrupt, but I set this for an hour. Does any of you know if it's going to cut off on me, or is there a way I can extend the time?
You can only extend, you have to go out, I believe, because we're in the middle of it, to extend the time. But I don't know, let it.
I just let it cut off, I guess, or till you get to the last question to end it and wrap up. I don't know. I never be in charge of Zoom.
Yeah, that's something that you have to do beforehand, like set the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
Conversation gets so deep, hey.
So it's going to cut off.
Yeah. So
hopefully not. All right.
Hopefully. I had to go get my front door. Sorry.
That's okay, ladies. I was just sharing that we're in the last few seconds. Oh, it's still going. It's still going. I set the meeting for an hour, so I thought it was going to cut off on me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still going.
Yeah.
Where is it? Okay. Yeah, so anyway, I thought that it was going to cut off because we hit that 1 minute, that 1 hour mark. But so far we're still on, we're still going, so that's a good thing. But just in case it does give you like a 5-minute grace time, I think we should wrap up. I know we were getting into some good stuff there, but perhaps we can do a part 2 of this, and talk about how since the 1980s, how the number of incarcerated women has been on the rise. So we can do a part 2 later in the month. But let's just wrap up this show. Everyone, if you could just give me some closing remarks, that would be great. I'm so thankful for your time that you shared today.
Sure. I'm thankful for inviting us. Thankful for these women, on all of you, all three of you, because you're actually helping as well, informing people. I just want people to know that everyone out there, if God puts something in your heart and you don't like the way your community is right now at this moment, then do something about it. It don't take much. Um, Kindness and love is something that is free and we can all give and share. Um, Find non-for-profits that are, doing the work that you would like to do, or connect to some of the bigger orgs and volunteer and find out if this is kind of some of the work that you like to do. There's so many people fighting for so many things all over the city. Right here in the Southeast side, all of our young people are leading the movement, but we have people that have been on a hunger strike for a month because they're trying to stop General Iron from moving from Lincoln Park to the Southeast side, right? We already have enough pollution.
Gotcha.
And they've been, these young people are leading the movement, hunger striking, going in front of the mayor's office. And that's because they don't want to live in a more polluted community. So anything that you feel is not right, stand in your truth, and there'll be other people standing with you.
Yeah, go ahead, Cole.
We got the 3 C's up here.
I
I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you for bringing me aboard, giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and my story. And like Cece said, if you see something, say something. If you want to change, you got to be the change. And if you want to participate in some of the work that we're doing, we will make sure that we leave our email, how to contact us, because we out here boots on the ground trying to make a difference in our community as well as around the world. Because when we get something passed here, we're trying to get it passed in another state. And I am looking for volunteers for the Sister of Support House. So if there's anybody out there listening and want to volunteer and help these sisters when they transition from prison back into society, I am here. And I just want to thank you so much for bringing me aboard. And I love you, my sisters.
Yes. I would just echo what both of my sisters said. It's important that we get involved. It's important that we educate our communities, continue to educate ourselves. I look at this as a platform of educating because it's going to be put out there and so many people are going to hear it. Yeah, educate your children. Yeah, even if they're not listening, keep talking to them. Like, I like, I know what it's like I just lost my son June 3rd due to an overdose, and because of what was in the pill, and like these pills are something terrible. Yeah, I just keep educating your family, your community, and people may think you're crazy and say, here come that lady again, always preaching. Yeah, but that's okay. I used to have signs in my window. Housing is a human right. Like, I'm like, my neighbors be like, everything okay? Yeah, everything's okay. We just have to fight for our community and where we live. Make sure you're continuing to educate others. That's all. Thank you for having me, Marilyn.
Oh, listen, ladies, again, I'm just so humbled to have you all on the show today. You are doing a wonderful work. Continue to do that work. It's Women's History Month. And so for my Women's History Spotlight, I spotlight, highlight, lift, and thank you, my guests, Celia Colon, Nicole Davis, and Colette Payne, for the work that you do on behalf of women and mankind. Keep up the good work, and thank you so much for sharing your time today.
Thank you, Ms. Marilyn. God bless you, and you continue to do what you do, because without people like you, our voices won't be so elevated. And I believe that every time one of these young ladies open up their mouth, myself included, every time we open up our mouth, we're trying to inform to transform lives. That's what we're doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, thank you. Your
Thank
work,
you, ladies. Love your sisters.
it's clearly working, so keep going.
All right.
All righty. Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good rest of the day.
You too.
You too.
Much love and prayers.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. All right, everybody. I just want to thank my guest for stopping by the show. of course, sharing their stories and their experiences and their work. Um, Again, if you want to reach any of these ladies, I will definitely put their contacts in the notes under this video. But again, um, you know, Celia Colon, who is the CEO and founder of Giving Others Dreams, and I'll put her link and contact information there. Colette Payne, who was director of the Reclamation Project at the Women's Justice Initiative, and Nicole Davis, who is the founder and CEO of Talk to Me Foundation. So, again, thank you, ladies, for stopping by. And again, I highlight you, spotlight you, honor you for Women's History. Real quick, before the time runs out, I want to remind you that we are in a new month, so we have a new word for the month, and that word is paladin, 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 and it means an advocate, a defender, or hero of a noble cause. All right. And so just want to remind you, if you want to support the show, be a sponsor, advertiser, as well as expand your reach to a new audience, you can send an email to producer@marilynscafesociety.com. Be sure to check out the website, marilynscafesociety.com. There you'll find out all the updates as well as links to me on my social media contacts. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share when you go to YouTube. And of course, we're going to share what love is on this day. And of course, love is the esteemed women that I had on the panel today and the work that they do. All right, everybody, that's it. Remember, if you don't do anything else this week, be sure that you live, you laugh, and you love. And as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege to hang out with you here on the Cafe Society. Be sure to let everybody know about us, all right? And until we talk again next week, be good and peace.